if you start with the idea of resistance and that there is such a thing,
Yeah.
then the next question is how do you defeat it? And I think there's two paths that we go down that are wrong paths, or paths that don't help us. One is we think that if we're feeling resistance, we're wrong, quote unquote wrong. So we need to become right. We need to change something that way. And I don't think that's true at all. The other thing when we think of we have resistance is we think, oh, we're sick, right? Or we need to heal. We need to somehow find the cure and then we'll get over it. And I don't think either of those ways work of thinking because they're self-judgmental. They put you down. It's like in training, in the gym.
Yeah.
If you have a bad day, you can't say to yourself, I'm a loser, I'm a bum, I'm not an athlete. You just have to say, well, that was a bad day and I'm going to, go at it the next way.
Welcome back to the channel. To the subscribers, I apologize. I had to take a little break there to lay down a greater framework for what we're building here. So I've spent the last month and a half or so just strategically laying out everything that we're going to be covering over the course of this course, which is what this is becoming now, so that we know exactly where it is that we're going and how we're going to get there as far as the clips that we're going to be using to analyze. If you've just stumbled onto this video, what we do here is I find a clip online and then I put it into the greater context of energy law, because we believe, the people that are putting these series together, we believe that energy law is the foundational law governing everything. Because if the entire universe is energy and matter simply concentrated energy, then the law governing energy must be influencing everything. And we're going to use this series of videos to put it into a greater context to show you how that's working. We believe that an expanded understanding of Ohm's law is actually the first principle that is guiding and influencing every aspect of society. I just needed to take a little break to get all the clips organized so that I know exactly what the structure and flow of how I want to present this information is going to go. But I've locked that all down now. We have a year and a half's worth of clips. There's going to be one video a week for the next 80 weeks. And at the end of it, I am completely confident now that you will begin to see energy law functioning in all around you in every aspect of society. Today's clip is Stephen Pressfield, so let's get back to it. I apologize for the break that I've taken, and thank you, loyal subscribers, for waiting me out, but I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed. Let's watch the next clip.
I'm curious if you've noticed the nature of resistance in your experience. Has it shifted for you over your career? So for example, for me, when I sit down at the blank page for this show, I've written you, I'm working on, putting the finishing touches on my book. The thing is kicking my ass from here to Sunday. It's like, and I consider myself an extremely hard worker, very diligent, overcome that resistance, but it's like it doesn't seem to get easier.
The concept of turning pro, or the idea that there's such a thing as an amateur and there's such a thing as a professional, and that amateurs have amateur habits and professionals have professional habits, and that why people get defeated by resistance, in my opinion, is they're thinking like amateurs. I certainly know that's the way I was.
Yes.
And if you're an amateur, you're in it kind of for fun. You're sort of a dabbler. You think, oh, well, today I'll do it, right? You're a weekend warrior. When adversity comes, you fold in the face of adversity. If there's anything in your life that is a serious problem, you'll let that take over your whole life. It's sort of, if we think of it in terms of athletes, it's like an athlete that's injured.
Yep.
If LeBron James has got problems with his knee, he somehow plays hurt,
Yep.
So the professional attitude is a whole other different thing. I mean, you're a pro. Look at you. Look at this thing here. And a pro gets up every morning and does the work, doesn't take days off, or if they do, they only take them off so they can come back
refreshed,
stronger the next time.
That's right.
And when a pro hits adversity, they just simply rally in the face of it and kind of use it in their own way. If a pro is hurt, they play hurt. And it's a whole different mindset.
Yes.
And so to me, that was sort of what really helped me overcome resistance. It was just to start to flip that switch in my mind and say, I'm a pro.
Yes.
I'm not an amateur, I'm a pro. And when I want to quit or I want to, back off something, I just say to myself, would Kobe Bryant do this? Would Tom Brady do this? I'm sorry, all you people who hate the Patriots. I do too. But in any event, I do think to think of yourself as a professional instead of an amateur is a big, big plus.
It's huge. And I love you talk about it. A really easy way to see this is how we show up in our day jobs, right? If we have day jobs.
Yeah, right.
It's like you just show up and you do the work no matter what.
That's how everything gets done,
right?
right?
It's how everything gets done.
Yeah.
It's like you don't necessarily always feel like it, but you show up and you get it.
Yeah.
You make it happen.
Yeah.
And I love that notion because it's meant the world to me, how you explain the difference between an amateur and a pro. And I just want to make some clarifications because, again, I can hear, I've developed this gift over time of hearing the audience say, but what about this? What we're saying in terms of being a professional, it's like we don't want you to hurt yourself. When Steve was saying play injured, it's not about putting yourself out. There's an essence, I think, in each of us where you take a look and you go, I got this. I can do this. This might be hard. There's been times in our business where it's required us doing a shoot over the weekend. Or you know what? Everything goes to hell. Technology breaks. We're shooting here and there's helicopters and we all have to stay a couple more hours. It's like no one's whining or crying and going, I can't. They just do it. And that's, I think, part of that spirit.
And like you're saying, Marie, you might have said it so fluidly that it went over people's heads. When we work in a real job, we're already pros in that job.
Yes.
We do show up. We know the reason we're pros is the job enforces it on it, right? They'll fire us. They'll, if we don't show up every day, but then when people leave that job and go off on their own to try to be a writer or an artist of some kind, they tend to drop that whole attitude and they think, well, I don't have to do it. It's Monday. I don't have to go in because I'm not, but
Yes.
you do have to go in.
Yes.
And that's really the secret, if there is such a thing.
I think, too, there's another aspect that you've written about. Self-validation is another quality of a professional. And you said that's a big word, and maybe it's hard to understand. But it's about somewhere finding the ability to judge your own stuff.
It's self-validation.
Yeah.
In the end, the bottom line, being a professional, I think, and going away from being an amateur is like also going from working in a job to being an entrepreneur, to being completely on your own.
Yes.
And when you're in a job or you're in a situation, where you have a mentor or a boss or something, you look to that external voice to tell you, oh, that's good. You did it right? We've all had jobs where we take something into a boss and they look at it and then they mark it up and they give it back to you, and as you walk into the boss, you're completely giving away your power. That may be a good thing when you're young and you're learning, but at some point you do have to sort of acquire the ability or teach yourself to read your own stuff and know whether it's good enough or not,
Yes.
And I don't know if there's any way to do that other than experience.
Yeah.
And even then, you still need a great eye from somebody else. But self-validation is very important, not looking to other people because they always tell you it stinks,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you listen to them, then it's over.
It is over.
You gotta love Stephen Pressfield. He is the undoubted, uncontested reigning king of resistance as philosophy right now in the world. It's amazing to me that he has become successful as he has without the formula of energy law itself. We're really hoping that at some point we're going to be able to get to talk and work with him, because if he had the formula itself, he can go to a whole other level. He's just hammering these books out right now of these observations of how resistance is impacting the different aspects of his life and how it's affecting you. He just is still lacking the formula. It's just incredible. What he's touching on here is of such great importance, the idea of turning pro. This is the aspect that has been life-changing for me too, which has also inspired me to get my ass in gear and start getting this thing put together, is that habits are so important, and amateur habits are really the thing that are holding you back. If resistance is constant and current increases, potential increases. That's the first aspect of our expanded understanding of Ohm's law. The constant resistances of your life are the things that are inevitably distracting you from focusing on the thing that you really want to do, which is what he's describing. When you let the other aspects of your life become the excuse to not do the things you need to do, that's the thing that's actually holding you back. And some things have to be dealt with in life. Some things are actually legitimately resistances that you need to engage and overcome. But a lot of them really aren't. If you really want to become something different and change your life, the thing that you should be putting off is not the thing that needs to get done. And that's the whole concept of treating your life like your profession. Are you living your life? Are you a boat just randomly floating down a river, going here and there based on whatever resistive circumstance bumps up against you? Or are you going to start focusing your ship down the very specific channel that you want to go on to become the person that you want to be? As your potential increases, you will become a different person. And the way that you have to become that person is to shed all the habits of the old person. So remember, the first aspect of energy law is this: if resistance is constant and current or intensity of focused energy decreases, potential decreases. And if resistance is constant and current or intensity of focused energy increases, potential difference must increase. The professional understands that the resistance is constant until your potential has become greater than it, at which point you move beyond it. But every time another incidental resistance bumps up against you and pushes you here or there willy-nilly all over the place, you are floating further and further away from the goal, which is the establishing of the greater potential. Every goal you have is the potential difference you are trying to establish. And the only way that you will ever do it is to break your amateur habits and start establishing your professional habits. And you must treat your life like it is a profession. You can live life overwhelmed by the whole experience of being alive, or you can start harnessing your potential and start directing the ship yourself. But the only way to do that is to take those same professional habits that you're using in your work life and start applying it to your daily life. Because there are so many things that we have been distracted and overwhelmed with in this current society of total media bombardment all the time, that we have to start figuring out where our focus is going. What are the little things in your life that are chipping away at your focus? Because all of that focus is the current or energy that you need to be directing at the resistance that needs to be overcome so that you can get that incremental increase of potential that is you slowly getting power and energy over your life. Your life is not a random thing. Your life is your profession. Who you are and who you want to be is a conscious choice that can only be achieved by directing your energy with more precision. You cannot let the random resistances of life completely knock your ship off course every time they happen, because resistance is everywhere all the time. We look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for sticking with me here, and thank you for your patience. Be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to share the video. We're going to go into professional gear now. I have to shift gears from the research stage, which is the gathering of all of the clips that we're going to analyze, to the actual analyzing of them, which is a huge resistance for me to overcome because I love the research aspect of this. The problem is that energy law is infinite, and every time I find another clip I want to add to the tapestry of the story that we're going to be telling over the next year and a half, I find 10 more. And I need to myself overcome that resistance of avoiding this aspect of it, which is the actual analyzation of the clips. This is a very difficult part for me, this whole putting myself out there and having this all be revealed, and this is very difficult stuff. It's very easy for me to just stay locked in my little world here, going through the internet, finding the clips and figuring out how they're going to become a greater story. I love that part of it. But at some point, even I am struggling with finding that professionalism that is the actual breaking down of these clips so that I can start actually sharing this information. So I'm going on this journey with you. I am not a guru that has magically figured this all out. This has taken years and years and years of my life, and I struggle with all of the same struggles that you're struggling with. And for me, this aspect of it is a massive resistance. But by the end of it, we are going to find our rhythm, we are going to start hammering these things out, and we are going to change the way you look at the world.